Good afternoon and welcome to the largest safari vehicle in the world. It is a cloudy, overcast, rainy, dreary afternoon, and well, we are here in South Africa coming to you live, which is all very, very exciting. Before we get into anything, we need to welcome the two schools that are joining us this afternoon. So it's a very warm welcome to Diamond Springs and Willow. Oh, sorry, I've gotten blank. I'll get the name now. I do apologize. It was my fault. Windsor Woods, that's right. I thought Wood Windsor, which wasn't very right, and so I got a bit turned around. So I do apologize about that. But very warm welcome to them, and I hope that you guys are going to have a fantastic afternoon with us. My name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got VM the Wildebeest. There we go. So there's VM's thumb. And it is interactive, kids, so you must send us all your questions that you've got. Remember to send them through to your teacher, and your teacher will then send them to us, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. Now, I'm sitting here underneath a very large tree, and the reason why I'm sitting under this big tree is because in the right hand side of that tree, it's very difficult to see, but there is a dead animal in the tree there. So this dead animal was hoisted up there by a leopard, and we saw the leopard this morning. It's a beautiful female leopard, but she doesn't seem to be here now, so I think she might have gone for a drink of water, and there is a pan very close by, so I think we're going to go and check around and see if we can find her at the water point and see if maybe she's going to go and get some water to ease her thirst. It is still quite humid this afternoon, which means that it's warm enough to drive a cat to go and drink, and because she's got a kill in the tree, she can leave and drink and then come back again. If it was on the ground, it would be very difficult for her because of things like hyenas and other leopards and lions might steal it, but because it's up in the tree, she has the opportunity to be able to come here and sort of drink and then go back again, which is very cool. So hopefully we will be able to find her. I'm sure she'll be around here somewhere, and it'll just take a bit of time and patience to try and find her. At the end of the day, leopards are shy, reclusive, elusive animals, and so you need to kind of work a little bit to be able to get them. So hopefully we'll be able to show you a leopard this afternoon. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly shoot off to the right here into the thickets, and the reason why I'm going to shoot off into the thickets is because that little water point that I was talking about is on my right hand side, and so hopefully she's going to be lying somewhere here. I'm also just scanning underneath all of the trees because she is an individual that maybe will be trying to find some shade at the end of the day. Like I said to you, it is a little warm, and so sometimes you'll find that they get in under the trees just to hide out from the sun when the sun comes out. When it's still overcast and cloudy, then they don't mind so much, but when it gets a little bit sunny, then you find they go into the trees. So hopefully we'll find her lounging about somewhere. Means that we sometimes have a few issues with our technology, but everything is now fixed, and hopefully that will be the last time that we lose all of you. As you can see, we've been looking where that water is, and I was saying that maybe the leopard would be here, but instead we found some very lazy hyenas that are lounging in the mud, taking a bit of a swimming lesson. There's actually two of them here. It's just the one that's in the water, and the second one is lying to the left, but it's very difficult to see it. But look at how happy that hyena looks, because it's been having a nice swim and just taking it very easy. And it's probably the reason why the leopard hasn't come this way is because the hyenas are here. Leopards will try and avoid hyenas as much as possible. They don't obviously want to get into a situation where they fight with hyenas, because hyenas have very strong teeth and mouths, and it can be very dangerous for a leopard to go anywhere near a hyena. The other thing about these hyenas is that because there's two of them and only one leopard, it means that they've got more numbers, and so they can gang up on the leopard, and that can be very dangerous. So the leopard would rather go somewhere else, and maybe it's gone to drink at a different place where it can get water away from these two. Now, the reason these hyenas are also lying down in the water like this is because it is warm today, and you can see, look at how full her belly is. So she's got a big fat belly, which means that she's probably quite warm, trying to digest or trying to absorb the food that she's eaten. Right, now our hyena is busy having a really good wallow, but Ali, my friend, is also with an animal that also likes to sit in the water when it is hot.
Very warm welcome to all the 3 schools that are joining us today. We are sitting with a huge herd of buffalo. Look at this. Everywhere we see, it's just more and more buffalo coming from behind the bushes. And I think this is by far the biggest herd that I've seen in this area in the last little while. It is incredible. My name is Ali, and on camera with me today is Ferg, and we are very happy to have you guys here to share such an unusual sighting. Now, if you've got any questions or any comments, please send them to your teacher, and then she'll be able to pass them on to us. We, for this afternoon, decided to come looking for this big herd of buffalo, as we heard that they were not too far on a property, on a reserve that is just north of where we are, but it seems like they've all now come back here. And it is incredible to see such a big herd around. Now, we also know that there are some lions that have been tracking this herd of buffalo. The lions are picking up their scent, and it seems like wherever this herd has been going, the lions have been following. We haven't seen the lions yet, and wow, it's just a sea of wild buffaloes all around. So I wonder if the lions would even try. Although lions can be very brave, so I'm sure they will try. Look at that. It's just so many. I don't think I can even count them. I'm going to guess about maybe 300 buffalo or so that I can see with the naked eye now. But it seems like they are way more at the back as well. So it could even be more than that. Maybe we're being lucky of enjoying a sighting of a mega herd of buffalo. All of them all around there. See, and this is a big group, both females, males, all the little ones, everyone together. So they've adapted to live sometimes in very big herds because it's convenient for them for protection. They have too many eyes, too many noses out there being able to spot in case there's anything that comes around that might be of danger to them. Ooh. Now, on top of the buffalo's fur that is straight in front of me, do you see the yellow bill of the oxpeckers?
I see a red bill.
I don't know. Just a little bit to your right, coming closer to us. Sorry guys, there is a very special bird that is on top of one of the buffalo. And there we go, maybe that one. Going behind the guari now. Joycers, the birds are on top of the buffalo because these birds have a very important job. They feed on the ticks of the buffalo, helping them keep clean. Now, the ones that we're seeing, that one over there with the red bill, is called the red-billed oxpecker. But I've spotted earlier, and I'm going to try and show it to you guys, another species of oxpecker that we don't get to see all that often around here, which is the yellow-billed oxpecker. And it looks pretty much exactly the same as this little guy over here, but it's got a bit of yellow on its beak that it also uses to get all of the ticks. Now, I'm going to move around again, see if perhaps we can get you guys a view of the other oxpeckers. You see this one that's looking at us straight here? Behind her, that's where the oxpeckers are. No, still the guari bush, just gone behind the guari that's there. Whew, this is gonna be a tricky one. Yeah. Sorry guys, just be patient with us and hopefully we'll be able to add a new bird to your list. There we go, to the left. Good. There we go, running around those three there. You see that they've got a yellow bill. Haha. Very interesting. So you see they're a little bit different from the ones that we saw earlier. Their beak is slightly different, and I think this is a mommy, a daddy, and a young one. You see one of them, when the buffalo allows us to, has got actually no color. It's got a black beak. So normally birds, as they become older, then they start taking new colors, and then the little one is not quite there yet. Right, we're going to stay with this buffalo and see where they decide to head off to, but while we do that, let's head back to Tristan, who's still enjoying the company of one of the bigger animals around here.
I am enjoying the company of our hyenas. They look so happy to be just lying in the water and having a really chilled afternoon. I suppose if you've been out all night looking for food, the best thing to do is just to come and take it easy and have a little nap by the poolside and have a bit of a rest before going out again tonight. The other thing is that they probably know that there is a carcass close by that they can maybe go and try and steal from the leopard. Now, I mean, you want to know how many teeth a hyena has? I think that they have around 8, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check it for you, but it's around that area. I think. I mean, it might be completely wrong. They might have a little bit more than that, but I'll double check for you and let you know. What I can tell you about the hyena's teeth is that they are incredibly sharp, and they've got these triangular teeth that run from the back of their mouth going forward, and those teeth are used to try and cut bits of meat. And then they have 2 or 4 big canines, so 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top, and the canines are long pointy teeth, much like a vampire's teeth, and those are there to try and grab food and then try and kind of grip when they're holding on to a prey animal, because hyenas, even though they will steal from lion and leopards, they also do hunt for themselves, so they chase animals as well. And then they've got little teeth in the front that are small and quite pointy like our front teeth, called the incisors, and they are there just to pluck any fur off of a animal. The thing is about a hyena is it doesn't have to worry about plucking fur too much, because its stomach is very strong and it's able to digest all kinds of things. Now, Madeline, you want to know how these hyenas find dead animals? Okay, well, if you look at this Adelines, there we go, sorry, not Madeline, Adeline, the way that they find dead animals is a few ways. First of all, they use their sense of smell. So they have very strong sense of smell. They've got big nostrils, and they put their nose to the ground, and then they can smell where an animal died. So they can smell blood, or they can smell rotting meat, and then they'll go and follow it. Now, I don't know, Adeline, if you've ever put a piece of meat like chicken or steak in the sun and left it for a day and then smelt what it smells like. It has a very strong smell, and so the hyenas are then able to find it like that. The other way they find dead animals is by listening. So if they hear a leopard chasing or lions chasing and grabbing an animal, the animal will make a noise that's being killed, and that means that they can then hear that, and they'll come rushing in to try and see if they can get it and see if they can find that dead animal, and they can then steal it. It's very, very clever the way that they do things. Now, interestingly, with this hyena, it's now moved its back leg a little bit, and you can see there, look, it's got swollen tummy, but it's also got big pink area that is full of milk. So this is actually a mommy hyena, and what's interesting about that is that we don't know any of the area, well, in this area we don't know of any mommy hyenas that have little babies at the moment, and so she must have babies somewhere, but we don't know exactly where. She's definitely producing milk, which means that she's got little babies hidden somewhere in this area, and we'll have to try and find where it is. The thing about hyenas is that they have what's called a den. Now, a den is like your home, so they have a termite mound or a hole in the ground, and they'll go inside there, and then they have their little babies inside there, and the babies live there, and then mom will go and find food and then go back and give milk to the babies, and once the babies get to about 3-4 months old, she'll start going and bringing bits of food back to the den as well. So sometimes she'll even bring bits of food to it. If she's a very low-ranking female, then she'll take the little ones to a carcass when they reach sort of 5-6 months and they're able to actually walk that area. So very interesting. So hopefully we'll find where this mommy hyena is keeping her babies. But while we look around for our leopard and see if there's anything happening around here, and if we can find any sign of the leopard, I'm going to send you all the way to the Masai Mara in Kenya, and James with a beautiful bird.
Right, hello everybody. It's lovely to have you all the way here in Kenya where we are. We are a very, 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 very long way away from Tristan and from Ali. They are in South Africa and we are in Kenya. And by we, I mean me. My name is James Henry. Hello. And on camera today is Archie. Hello, Archie. Archie's wearing gloves. I don't know why he's wearing gloves. It's a very strange thing to do. Let's go back and look at that very special bird over there. The bird is called a lilac-breasted roller. I want you to all say that. Lilac-breasted roller. And the reason we call it a lilac-breasted roller is because if you look at the very front, underneath its throat, you can see it's got a lilac color. That's like a light purple. You can see there. And breasted, that's called the breast of the bird. And roller is a way of describing how it attracts its mates and how it marks its territory. So it's got a very special way of flying. And it has a sort of rolling flight. And that's why it's called a lilac-breasted roller. Now what we're doing out here is hoping to find some lions here in the Masai Mara of Kenya. and I can hear some birds going. Sounds a little bit like a chicken, but it isn't a chicken. It's called a guinea fowl. It's a long way away from where we are, and when they make a noise like that, sometimes they can be seeing a predator. And so what we're going to try and do is drive around and see if those guinea fowl are not shouting at a predator. Okay, let's carry on. Now, it's difficult for you to understand how far away we are from Tristan and Ali, but maybe your teacher has got a map and she can show you, or he can show you, a map of the world or of Africa, and if not that, you can look at a map of the United States and you can compare the distance from where you are to a place 1,600 miles away. So we're a very long way away from where they are. But you can see Africa is very big and it's very different. You can see this landscape, this area is very different from the area that Tristan and Ali are in. There are lots of grasses here, far more than there are where Tristan and Ali are, and there are fewer trees. Hello, David. You've asked a question to which nobody knows the answer. And it's a good question. You say, why does the lilac-breasted roller have so many colors? Well, we don't really know. David, sometimes very colorful birds, only the male bird has got bright colors. And he's got bright colors like that to help him attract female birds. But when both the mother bird and the father bird are the same color, and they're both brightly colored, we really don't understand why that is the case. But they look very pretty to look at, doesn't it? So it doesn't really matter to us why, but it's a good question. But we can still appreciate how wonderful they look. This is like a sea of grass. Now, I'm going to stop Archie over here, or stop the car over here, and ask Archie to put the camera way across the Mara River. Well, not across the Mara River, it's in front of the Mara River. And what we have there is a giant herd of buffalo, but it's so far away that I think we'll take you to Ali's herd of buffalo in South Africa.
Well, it seems like our buffalo have slowly but surely decided to go and drink some water. As you can imagine, with such a big herd and so many of them, they need a lot of water just to make sure they all drink as much as they can. So have a look at this open area. You see how the clouds are all around us? It almost seems like it's going to rain. And funny enough, here in South Africa where we are, it rains during the summer. But this year, it hasn't rained that much. So all of these animals have to walk further and further or longer distances to be able to find water. And you see them all walking into a straight line from the right all the way to the left. And right there on the left, far away from where we are, that's where they're going for water. And I can tell you that roughly from what we can see from here, there isn't that much water in there. So I'm not too sure how long these guys are actually going to stay here for. Kinda, you're wondering why they have horns. Well, for two reasons, or the main reason is to defend themselves. They are very big creatures. However, the lions like to eat them a lot in this area where we are. So they need strong horns to protect themselves. They use their head almost as a shield and as a sword at the same time to try and fend off and chase away everything that's coming after them. But also, they use them when the boys are fighting to try and woo a girl. They go and they pretty much go head against head. So they need all that protection in their heads when they start banging against each other, so that they don't get, all funny and concussed and pass out. So many of them. David, you're wondering how fast can buffalo run? Well, they can run very fast, a lot faster than what we can. I would say probably around 45 kilometers, 50 kilometers an hour, which is quite fast for an animal that you see, and it seems very relaxed. But I can tell you, we as humans are not faster than anything else. Everything can outrun us. So I wouldn't try my luck running with the buffalo. Now you see how many of them have gone through. These are all different ones. So we are thinking now that perhaps we are actually seeing about 500 of them, which is a huge number. And they just keep coming. Stella, you're wondering what buffalo eat. Well, despite being so big, they do not eat meat. They eat grass. So they will go from area to area where they can find enough grass and enough water to eat. So that's why partly why you see them with their heads down looking down most of the time, because that's where their food is. And pretty much just that. When they're struggling for food, and if it's very, very dry and it hasn't rained a lot and there isn't a lot of grass, then only then will you see them eating leaves. But normally they don't eat them. All that yummy grass that they're walking through, that's some of the things that they eat. But I think everyone's more interested now in having a drink than anything else. Samantha, you're wondering if buffalo can run faster than a cheetah. No. Although buffalo can run very fast, the cheetah is the fastest land mammal. So the cheetah will run faster than any other creature on Earth. They are the fastest one, about 100 kilometers an hour. But the cheetahs and the buffaloes as well, they can only run or that quick for a little while at a time. They cannot run that quickly for too long, because they also get very tired. It's looking almost like it's sunset, but it's the middle of the afternoon. Interesting. And they just keep going. Yeah. Some of them running around. You see, it's not that Pacific all the time around with the buffalo. Oh, there's a little one running in there in the middle of the herd, just being protected by its mom. Beautiful little one. London, you're wondering why buffalo are so fat and wide. Well, they are quite wide because they're very big creatures, but they seem so fat, or sometimes they can almost actually be very fat because they have a lot of food, so they eat a lot, but also because of their digestive system. So when they eat something, unfortunately, the way that they break down, or that the stomach breaks down everything that they eat, is through a way that produces a lot of gas. So they are bloated pretty much a lot of the time. So that's why they almost appear always fatter than what they actually are. But I think this buffalo that we're seeing here at the moment, they also have eaten a lot. Patrick, you're wondering if we can ride a buffalo. Well, not the African buffalo, no. They're not happy animals, and although they remind us of a cow, they're actually very, very dangerous, and they do not like anyone coming close to them. Not humans, not lions, not nothing. So I wouldn't try. I don't think you would be able to ride this particular species, but I do know that in Asia, in some areas where the buffaloes are not as grumpy as the ones that we get around here, that you can ride those ones. This one's, they don't like them. All right, we are going to carry on counting buffalo. It's almost like counting sheep, but we will not fall asleep. So while we count buffalo, let's head over to James and see how his driving is going. I can't talk.
We are not going to count any buffalo. We've got too many to count, much too difficult. And beyond the buffalo, we've got a whole lot of elephants. And we've just got to get through these thick trees, and hopefully I'll be able to show them to you. Lots of elephants on the green grass. Woo, it's going to be nice. Hold on everybody, be patient. Hello Fatima, you're wondering about the weather in the Masai Mara right now. Well, I'm told it's about 29 degrees Celsius or 84 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's quite nice and warm here. There's a wind blowing, quite a strong wind, coming from, where is it coming from? It's coming from the northwest at the moment, northeast at the moment. That's over that way. And what else? It's nice and sort of partly cloudy, so there's a bit of shade from the hot sun, but it's a very beautiful day out here. And I'm going to show you a very large herd of elephants. We'll stop here and have a quick look, and then we'll try and get closer. Look at there. Lots of them. Mrs. Carter, you want to know what time of day it is here? Well, Mrs. Carter, it is an astonishing 5:30 in the afternoon. So it's quite late in our afternoon. We've only got an hour left out here in the Masai Mara before we have to go home because they closed the park gates. Just amazing sights of so many elephants. Oh, they're having such a good time there. There's so much good food for them to eat. Alright, I think we should try and get closer. Like I say, we don't have a huge amount of time left, so we need to try and get closer while we've still got you with us. I'll drive a little bit faster. There we go. In the Masai Mara, at least in South Africa, it smells like fresh grass, and a little bit like when the grass has been cut. I don't know if you understand or know the smell of mowed grass or cut grass. It smells a little bit like that. Okay. We are still live, are we? Oh, we are still live. Good, yes. Now, I've got some very good news for you. My friend Tristan has managed to find the animal that he was looking for at the very start of the drive, and it's a very special cat.
Indeed, James, it is the most special of the cats for me, especially because I absolutely love them. And it was a very tricky animal to find this afternoon because she was being a bit sneaky and she was sitting in a place that wasn't easy to see her. But we've managed to find her, and we found her because we saw her tail dangling. Now, can you see her there? Look, as we go in, she will start to be a lot easier to see. There she is, lying on top of the branch. So she's lying in a place where it is quite tough to see her, and if you can only really see her from one angle, if you don't look carefully in the trees like this, that you can drive right past leopards and not even know that they're there. And that's what makes them so special, is that they don't sort of just stand out, they blend in very well. So, London, you're wanting to know how a leopard climbs a tree. Well, London, what happens is it will go look at the tree, and so it'll walk up to the base of the tree, and it'll look up, and then it jumps with its back legs up, and its front legs are big and powerful, and they have lots of sharp claws, and so they'll stick their claws into the tree, and then they pull themselves up, and it's almost like they're using hooks to try and kind of keep them on the tree, and then they kind of just pull up, and they're very, very strong animals, and then their back legs will just help them as they go, and then once they're in a tree, they'll try and find a branch like this that is quite flat, and it means that they can then lie down and sleep very comfortably. Now, the reason that she's sleeping in this position and why she's up there is probably because the hyenas are around. So when there's hyenas in this area, she has to be a little bit careful, as we were talking about earlier, because the hyenas are dangerous to her, so she'll rather sleep in the tree and get away from the hyenas. Also, she's going to have a situation where she's going to get a little bit more of a wind up there, and the wind obviously helps to keep her nice and cool because, well, we were saying earlier, it's a hot afternoon, and so that makes it difficult for her. Brandon, you obviously are watching very closely because you want to know why she's breathing so fast. Well, the reason that she's breathing fast is because she's eaten too much, Brandon. And so what happens with a leopard is when they eat so much that it pushes up on their lungs, and it means that they can only take a little bit of air. So normally, like us, let's say we can breathe and we can take a normal breath, but then if somebody sits on your chest, Brandon, you know it's very difficult to then take any air in. It becomes harder because your lungs can't expand and can't grow bigger with the air that you're taking, and it's the same with the leopard. So when she eats too much, all that meat that she's eaten pushes up on her lungs, and it means she can only take small breaths and quicker breaths to try and get the oxygen she needs to be able to survive. So it's a very difficult time for a leopard, but obviously the nutrients that she's getting is going to help her to survive, so she just does that. The other reason that she's breathing fast is because it's hot. So when you're hot, we sweat as people. So I don't know if you've ever run around and you feel that you start to get that water on your skin. With the leopard, they can't do that. So what they do is they breathe fast because the hot air that comes out of their mouth goes over their tongue, and as it goes over, it causes the saliva, so the wetness in the mouth, to start to evaporate. Now, evaporate basically means the water turns from a liquid into a gas like air. And so as that happens, it actually cools the blood down, and the blood in the tongue and the mouth get cooler, and it sends that cooler blood back into the body, and that's how they keep themselves cool in the hot African temperatures. So it's a very clever thing to have and to be able to do. Vilianis, you're wondering why leopards are so sneaky. Well, I don't know. I wish they wouldn't be so sneaky, because they make our job quite hard sometimes. But the reason that they're so sneaky is actually that they are by themselves. So you have a situation where they're not like lions or even cheetah brothers that will spend time together in a pride or a coalition, and they can use each other to kind of find food and all those kind of things. A leopard is a shy animal because it's designed to try and sort of stay hidden. When it hunts, it doesn't want to be seen by animals, so it has to be able to be in a thicket where it can camouflage, which means to hide away. And so it's a very good thing for it to be shy like that. Also, a leopard, because it spends all its life on its own, it doesn't like when there's attention on it. It doesn't like to be seen by other things, and so that's why it will try and hide and get into thick areas, because it wants to be the animal that's always hidden, because that's how it's going to be able to find food. Now, looks like she might get up. I'm hoping she's going to get up and come down the tree and then walk to the other tree, because the other tree is a much nicer place for this leopard. I certainly think that we'll have a better view of her if she goes to the tree where the kill is in, or the carcass, or the little steenbok that is inside there. Oh, that's nice. Look, she's turned to face us. Look how beautiful she is. Isn't she just the most beautiful animal? So here you're wondering how a leopard will find its way back to the tree. Well, so here the leopard knows that it's put its carcass in the tree. So it's like, so here if you put your, I don't know, what's your favorite toy somewhere, and you go and put it down, you know that you put it there. So you'll go and you'll go and do something else, and then you'll come back and you'll be able to get it. So the leopard knows that that's where its food is, and it can also see it from where we are. The tree is not very far. It's about, I would say, maybe 100 meters or around that area from where the kill is, and so it's easy for it to see where the kill is, and that's how it will be able to find it very quickly. Right, well, I'm going to sit here with our leopard, because it is the most beautiful animal and my favorite animal, and why wouldn't we want to? We were trying to find it, but while we sit and enjoy the view of the leopard, let's send you back to Ali and see what's happening with those buffalo and elephants.
Well, we have counted 700 of them already, and they keep coming. It's really, really many of them. We are so surprised. It's just like an endless line of buffalo heading all the way down towards the dam. And now you can start seeing them, how they're all hanging up around that area. Just trying to, let me get out of the way. Just drinking a little bit of the water down there at the bottom, and then they just carried on moving forward. And if you're wondering about the birds that are running around like crazy over there, those are the guinea fowl. They're called guinea fowl, helmeted guinea fowl. Now, I think they are probably going a little bit crazy with this invasion of buffalo all around them. Pippa, you're wondering if buffalo are stronger than an elephant or a hippo. Well, I would suppose the elephant, being the biggest one of them all, is the strongest one. But between buffaloes and hippo, I don't know. I think because hippos are bigger than buffalo, it's probably going to be elephant, hippo, and then buffalo in terms of strength. It's probably the best way to call it. I'm confident with that, just if we take into consideration how big they are. At least one in terms of the other. And then we've got a very big bull over there, and this is the most feared animal by all the people that walk on foot in the bush, just because they can be so fierce. And we were talking earlier about the horns, so you can see you wouldn't really like to be hit by any of those horns. That's the main tool. There we go. Here he is, also eating the grass. You can see it's sticking out from its mouth. Almost like a farmer, like you get in the cartoons, with a little grass sticking out of his mouth. So many of them. Now you see that big one there with such big horns. Normally the males are the ones, or the boys, with very, very big horns, and the females are the ones where they've got horns that are a little bit thinner, especially in the middle. They're not as big or as bulky as they can be. So many. It seems like today is the buffalo day. And James in the Masai Mara has also got his huge herd of buffalo. So I think let's go over to him and see if the buffaloes up there look any different from the buffaloes down here.
Well, it's Buffalo Day, it's Thompson's Gazelle Day, that's what you're looking at there, and it's also Elephant Day. Look, we've got all of these buffalo, and around the buffalo we have got big grey elephants. There they are. Isn't that amazing? Alright, sorry everybody to go quiet like that. It seems that we're just having a little bit of trouble with our radios, but now they're working. Humans. Well, Mackay, no, not normally. If I got out of this car and I started shouting and running around, you'd probably find that all of these big buffalo would run away from us. But if you get into a situation where the buffalo is very afraid and it doesn't feel like it can run away, well then you can find yourself in a position where the buffalo might attack you. And that would be horrible for the buffalo to attack you, obviously. But most of the time, they're just like cows. They will leave us alone completely. Oh, and there's another animal in the background there called a topi. We can just go back to the left, Archie, if you wouldn't mind. There, right in the middle of your picture. Hudson, you're wondering, how do buffalo find water? Well, they learn, basically, from when they're very young. They learn to find water up a bit there. Just the lone topi in the back there. You can see a slightly different animal. There we are. That's quite special. So Hudson, they learn to find water from when they're very young. Their parents take them to all the good watering holes, and that's how they know. Some people say they can smell water. I don't know if that's true or not. Some people say that they're able to follow the rain and learn where water is that way, but I'm not sure if any of that's true. Now, I've spotted something else very cleverly. Well, not so cleverly. All I did was I looked, and there are lots those cars over there. There is a lion, and we are going to go and see if we can't get a little bit closer to the lion over there. You might have to see it the next time you come on safari with us, because I think we're nearly finished. But for the last few minutes, I think let's go across to Tristan and have a look at his cat, and I'll try and get to the big cat over there.
Well, we might as well enjoy the last few minutes of your drive with us with the most beautiful animal, like I say, in the whole of Africa. And you can see it's got its little white tip to its tail that's up at the moment. And so it's got a situation where it's turning that tip of the tail up because there's a bird that's shouting at it. So there's a type of bird called a rattling cisticola, and the cisticola is making lots of noise. I know cisticola is a hard word to say, but it's making lots of noise and shouting at the leopard, and so that's why the leopard curled its tail up like that, to tell the cisticola, I'm not hunting you, stop shouting at me and stop telling everybody I'm here. Now, Robbie, you want to know why the leopard has such a long tail? Well, it needs a long tail for when it's hunting and when it's climbing trees. Hunting and climbing trees allow it to be able to balance very nicely, and so it has a situation where as it goes up the tree, because its weight is going to be moving, so the tail moves a little bit as well, and it causes it to get off balance, and so the tail helps just to keep it up the tree and from falling out. And when it hunts, when an animal runs and tries to turn, so her tail will help her just keep her balance and turn with that prey animal when it's running so fast. Look at that, she's so funny, this cat. I think she doesn't feel like moving, but there's a few cars that are coming past, and that's why every now and then she just pops her head up and makes a bit of a look around. Now, unfortunately, it is that time, as James and I have mentioned, where all of you are going to go back to work. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? She's decided to give you one last look because she knows that you guys are going to be heading off to do more schoolwork. And like I say, I hope that you don't get too much work today. I hope that it's a fun day at school and that you loved seeing all the animals in Africa. And so from James and Ali and myself, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us, and I hope that we'll see you all again very soon. And for the rest of our viewers, well, we're going to kick off our regular drive now, and so while we kind of sit here with our leopard, let's send you back across to Ali and the buffalo.
Well, hello everyone to the normal part of our drive, or the adult part of our drive, I should say. We are still sitting with the buffalo and they just have not kept coming. It's incredible to see so many of them, and particularly at Djuma. And I think just in general in my life, this is the biggest herd of buffalo I have ever seen. It's really been now in the hundreds. It's incredible. And every time we think that there aren't any more coming, they just keep coming and there's more and more and more, which makes it just unbelievable. A very, very special sighting, especially now that they have started walking off to an area that's a little bit more open, which allows us to see them better. Now we've got a few of them that are hiding in between all the bushes, but you see they've carried on going onto Sydney's dam. You look very pregnant. And quite interesting, Ferg and I have been commenting that for the amount of buffalo that we've seen today, we haven't seen too many babies. So just a few here and there, and I'm sure it's related to how dry the conditions have been and probably the lack of food that all of the females have been able to find. I'm sure that somehow influenced the amount of babies that have been born, because we are in the middle of the summer season, and although buffaloes are not technically seasonal breeders, we would have expected to see maybe a few more than what we have actually seen. Hello, girls. They seem a little bit uneasy. Now, with such a big buffalo herd around us, we are hoping also that the lions, the Nkahuma Pride in particular, and the Birmingham boys that we saw this morning have also started making their way, because they have been slowly but surely following this herd for the last few days. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're actually somewhere in the vicinity where we cannot see them. On the way here, we were checking for lion tracks. However, we didn't come across any, but that's not to say that they crossed in a point just a little bit further east than we actually checked, because we pretty much came straight here to see if the buffalo were still around. And to our surprise, they still are. It is always funny the way they start sniffing and they put their nose up and down just to gather more information about everything that's around them. Ah, there's a tiny one finally. Hello. Almost seemed like it was limping. Yeah, it does seem like it has a bit of a limp in the front leg. Very cute. Now, this is probably only the third baby the third very, very young baby that we've seen. And the fact that it's got a bit of a limp, probably not the greatest thing. It's struggling a little bit to keep up with mom, but it's got the safety of this massive herd. So his chances of actually making it, at least for the next little while, I think they could be pretty good. Now there we go, all the typical bottoms walking into the distance in the African bush. Never too clean, funny enough. That is one characteristic of buffalo. Well, I think Ferg and I are pretty settled on carrying on counting buffalo just to see how many we can actually count. But while we do that, let's go over to Tristan, who's enjoying very much the company of a leopardess that's very much settled.
Well, Ali, I am indeed, and for a couple of reasons. One, because it's been so long since I've spent quality time with Xidulu. This morning we found her quite late in the drive, and it was really nice to find her and see her up in the tree, but it wasn't really a quality kind of time that we got to spend with her. So it's really nice just to be here right in the start of the drive and to have a situation where we're going to be able to spend quite some time with her this afternoon, hopefully. Now, the other reason why it's really cool is because this female is a female that I have seen a few times when I was at Simbambili, and I've watched her coming from her mom. So the first time I ever saw her was when she was still with her mother, and then watched her separate from her mother and start to move in and try and kind of move around Salehesh and Tiani, and it was an interesting thing because Salehesh and Tiani, well, Salehesh, as we know, was a very big girl, dominant, and she kind of bossed the whole western sector. And so this female had to worm her way through, and I had the most incredible sighting of her and Tiani having a standoff in a marula tree one night. The two of them chased each other up, and there was just absolute chaos in the tree as they went about going after one another. It was really quite something to kind of watch the two of them go at it. It was amazing. So it's been a long time since I've seen her, and what I can tell you is that she's increased in size and bulk massively since I last saw her. She's looking really quite solid and set, and so it's exciting to see her hanging around this area. The other side of this is that we kind of asked for a more kind of picturesque scene, and I'll tell you why. I mean, we've got a green, beautiful wattle that she's sitting in, and look at that when she just looks over at us. Is that not magical? And behind her is this rainy, overcast, dark cloud, and it is as good as one could ever ask for. She is looking as pretty as you could be, and like I say, the green and that dark kind of blue behind her is just phenomenal. Of course, we are going to get a bit of rain because of that cloud. It's kind of ghosting past us a little bit to the left. There'll be a few drops that are going to fall on us. In fact, they're starting to fall now, so it's going to come with a little bit of a cost, but I think that's absolutely perfect to see a leopard like that. Of course, we could have had a bit of a cleaner background, but there's not much more we could have asked for. And I love the fact that she's kind of pinning the one branch down for us so that we can see her face quite nicely, because if she lifted her one leg, that branch would definitely lift up and we'd have a situation where we wouldn't be able to see her nearly as well. Look at that. Hello, girl. Very pretty. Now, you might notice also above her left nostril, she seems to have a little scar there. And I wonder if that little scar has got something to do with the fact that she has been mating with Hukamuri. We know Hukamuri's got one or two scars. I wonder if maybe she had, during that mating process, they got into a bit of a scrap. Sometimes it happens with the males and females as the male removes himself from the female, so the barb on the end of his penis hurts her, and then they kind of fight it out. And that's maybe why Hukamuri's got a nice little cut under his left eye, and she's got this cut on her nose, because I haven't heard of any other sort of altercations with leopards or any sort of fights that have taken place between her or Hukamuri with other individuals at the moment. Of course, there could very well be. Now, I think she's actually going to stand up. It's starting to rain, so I wouldn't be surprised if she decides that the rain is not for her and she goes and finds herself a little thicket, which won't be good for us because she is inside Simbambili, and like I say, if she comes down, it's going to be a very tricky situation to be able to find her. What I am hoping, though, is that she heads back maybe closer towards her carcass and her kill. And let's see, it looks like she might get up. Are you going to move, girl? I hope not. Noriko, you're wondering if she sneezed earlier, and can leopards sneeze? Yes, leopards can sneeze, and she might have done so. I didn't notice it myself. It's not to say that she didn't. She could very well have sneezed earlier. I just didn't notice it and didn't see it for my own eyes. But they do sneeze. They get things up their nose, and they try and eject it. So sometimes they'll get grass seeds, dust, a fly, various things, much like us. If there's things that tickle our nose, so we end up also sneezing and trying to eject it out, and it's the same thing for a leopard. But there is a lot of yawning going on, and so I think that she's undecided as what she wants to do. She kind of yawns and then pops her head down with much vigor, and so I think she might start moving. It's cool enough for her to go and feed. It's not like it's too sort of hot for her to feed now with a bit of rain falling. It certainly should hopefully cool things off a little bit, and she should be able to then get up and start kind of finishing off that carcass. The problem is that she's not going to come and drink on our side like I'd hoped. The two hyenas that we saw are wallowing in the area that I would have expected her to be able to drink at, and so we'll have a situation where I'm pretty sure she's going to end up kind of going deep into Simbambili once she finishes that kill. Time will tell, and we'll just have to see how it goes. But while we enjoy the view and see whether or not she gets up and moves, I'm going to send you all the way back north to James, who seems to be on a bit of a birding mission today and is busy looking at a beautiful Hammerkop.
What we have here are some Hammerkops, while you enjoy the view, while Tristan enjoys the view. And the Hammerkops, believe it or not, are having a belated Valentine's affair. Well, at the moment one of them is scratching itself, but we caught them on this termite mound, a very unusual place for a Hammerkop to be unless there's a little puddle of water somewhere around them. We caught them in the throes of passion. So I just thought we'd wait and see if they were going to, well, demonstrate their fondness for each other again. Now remember, you must ask questions, please, using the hashtag Safari Live, and of course the chat stream on YouTube. We do very much want to have your questions and comments. I'm going to sit with this Hammerkop for another 1 minute before I give up and continue. There were some lions, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. They are surrounded by about 46,000 vehicles, and they are in grass longer than most forests, and so we're not going to give up. Well, at least we're not going to try and go towards them. There we go. Oh my goodness. Well, well, well. Now, I think bird mating looks like the most awkward process. Short of watching two porcupines trying to make small porcupines, I can't imagine anything more awkward than the two birds trying to do it, because it really is difficult to see how they make any contact with each other to exchange, well, what did I want to exchange the game eats, if you like. Well, obviously it's him putting sperm into her, because that's how it works with birds. But it's difficult to see how the mechanism actually works, and there probably was a transfer in that little interaction right there. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think any birds have an actual protruding penis. So I think it's just the cloacal openings that must touch together. But I might be wrong there. Very entertaining, Hammerkops. Thank you very much. Okay, let's continue. Oh, no, let's wait one more second. They're just grooming each other. Yes, our beard, you make a very good point. You say a lady bird, not meaning as in the beetle, but in the actual bird, must be very strong or have strong legs to bear the weight of the male. That is true, except remember birds are very light indeed, and I read something quite interesting actually. No, I'll tell you that story later. Let's quickly go across to Tristan.
Well, our leopard is coming down the tree, so she's decided enough is enough. I think the rain is sorting her out and trying to kind of push her down the tree, and there she goes. She's jumped down, and so hopefully she's going to walk towards us. Look, it looks like she might come towards the kill. Hopefully she is going to do that. Are you going to come to us, girl? Yes, come on. This is the way you must walk, exactly the way you're coming. Well done. Did you get the message? Yes. So she seems as though she's going to walk between us. Let's see, I need to just go back for her to come out here. So here we go, girl. You're welcome to come out this way. So I just wanted to reverse and give her a chance to be able to just get through this little gap, because she's kind of wanting to come out onto the road and probably walk down towards her carcass. So I'm just going to give her a bit of space and allow her to be able to do that, because ultimately we don't want to push her and get her into a situation where she's a bit nervous. But there she goes. How cool is this? So she's walking straight with purpose to the tree. I think we're going to get a very cool view of her hopefully going up the tree. You're going to just have moments of kind of bushes passing in front of her as she walks in this direction. There also seems to be a bit of rain that's coming straight for us. Oh, whoopsie, she's stopped now. So it seems as though we're going to get very wet as well, which is not ideal. It's quite a bit of rain that's coming our way, and so we'll have to put some rain covers on just now. But for now, we're okay, I think. And a little itch that she's just taking care of as well, making sure that she keeps everything kind of sorted out, make sure the neck is all sorted as well, and then off we go again. Debbie, you're wondering if the big cats hunt more with their eyes or their noses? Well, Debbie, it depends on the situation. They use their nose a lot, but I would say eyes more than anything else. If I had to sort of take a wild guess, is that their eyes were far more important to them than their noses are. In saying that, though, I've seen leopards with one eye that are absolutely fine when it comes to hunting. Now, I'm going to go past her a little bit because she's going to approach this tree and walk straight. Actually, there's a car in front of us, so we're going to just let them go through. But I'm pretty sure she's going to go up this tree, and if I go into the right place, we should be able to get her coming up quite nicely. Let's see. I'm going to go forward. So she is going straight towards the tree itself. And Viam, I think if we go and park ourselves here, we're going to have a really nice view of what's going on. So somewhere, difficult because she's going to go up behind a whole bunch of branches, I think. But we'll try and park where she should theoretically pop up and into the tree itself. So you can see there are a few sort of branches there. She goes, look at that. So she didn't waste any time. It was a little quicker than I thought she was going to go. I thought she was going to kind of stop and look for a bit, but she didn't waste any time whatsoever. She just went straight up and straight into the tree itself, which is pretty amazing. Now, are you going to go and lie on this branch for us? Of course you are. Good girl. Well done. Isn't that spectacular? Just like we wanted. Girl, you have done us a solid favor because you've lay in the most perfect spot for Viam and I. We've parked ourselves in the most wonderful place and she's kind of looking straight at us. The only problem is it's starting to rain quite heavily, Kirst, so we are going to have to put some rain covers on fairly quickly to protect everything because it is starting to come down a lot harder than it was earlier. So while we try and get our rain covers on, I'm going to just send you back across to the Mara and to James, who hopefully is going to find some other lions that are not being harassed by hundreds of vehicles, as he says.
Seems like the gremlins are attacking James all the way in the Mara. I'm sure he'll be able to fight them off. James is normally a very inventive character. Now, we've decided to leave the buffalo for the time being, and we are just traveling along Buffelshoek cut line just to see if perhaps we can pick up any lion tracks. They did cross into Buffelshoek this morning, and we know the rest of the pride was there, but I'm wondering if perhaps because the buffalo carried on moving from that direction where you're seeing onto where we left them, perhaps we will find some tracks coming onto the road, and then we'll know where they are and where we can start looking for them. Because if they didn't come back, then they could pretty much be anywhere over there, and then we might not be able to see them. So I am hoping that we're going to get some luck this afternoon with all this rain as well. So I'm just pretty much driving into the light and also where I think there might not be as much rain. I'm hoping the rain will help us find some of the lions. Alright, seems like James has managed to fight off the gremlins as we knew he would. So let's go back to him and find out how he fought the gremlins off. Perhaps he sprayed them or something else.
Right, I think the gremlins are gone. It was just a small gremlin in my ear, but we're okay now. We continue to search through the Masai Mara, and what we have for you over here are some impalas. As the sun comes out of the clouds, bathing this area in... I'm trying to think of an interesting word other than gold. There we are, there they are. Now, I can't... Oh, there, the car has turned itself off. That's good news. Apparently, I was going to tell you a story about birds before I linked away. Cannot for the life of me remember what that story was going to be. Can anyone else help me out here? Hammerkops, mating hammerkops, birds, cloacas, reptiles. No, it's gone. Thank you. Kirsten says it was about birds. How very kind of her. She's really just doing a sterling job. Oh, birds having strong legs. Oh, yes, I know exactly what I was going to say. Right, we're looking at impala in case you're wondering. But what I was going to say is, of course, that I read a very interesting thing the other day. Some birds have such light skeletons in order to aid their flight that their feathers weigh more than their bones do. So they're not very heavy. And they're often very strong. There's also a water pig in amongst the impalas there, using their eyes for security, hoping desperately not to be savaged by something coming out of the grass, like a lion of the pride. Although we're not in their territory at the moment, I think we're in the territory of the marsh breakaways. if I was to guess. We're way up north in the triangle, approaching the banks of the Great Mara River. All is very peaceful. I can just hear some parrots calling in the thick forest on the river. We went into such a nice thick forest this morning, and in fact I had never been into it because, well, we're always sort of rushing to try and find big cats and that sort of thing, but it was lovely to go into the forest, and I'm going to spend a lot more time doing that in the next little while. Susan, you say, are we allowed to get out of our vehicles in the Mara? Yes and no. If we get caught out of the vehicles, it's a bit of a problem. If you jump out the vehicle to have a relieve yourself, for example, or pick up a piece of litter or show a flower, that would be fine. But you can't kind of walk off to go and pick a flower 50 meters off the road. You would be in a lot of trouble. A ranger would come and shout at you. And there are some elephants. Marvellous little herd with the sun now shining on it. Glorious. I need another word other than gold, because talking about golden light gets a bit tired after 3 years of doing this. Yellow, no, butter, lemon, and that horrible word amber, which I'm not going to use. Not sure why. You know why I don't like it very much, is that I remember, this is a bit embarrassing, I remember as a child, there was that dreadful soap opera called The Bold and the Beautiful, which for a teenager had a sort of compelling storyline, and I remember there was a nasty character in there called Amber. Ever since then I've been unable to use the word. I don't want you to think less of me. I was very young at that stage of my life. Makes me feel dirty to admit to that. Righty, on we go. There's just a stunned silence from the final control now. Yes, honey's much better. Izzy, you say honey-kissed. Much better. Very nice. Honey-kissed is exactly what it is, actually. We'll just give you a quick landscape view. There we are. No action in this shot, everybody. Purely a landscape. Gorgeous. That really is very special. Now apparently Tristan is outdoing me yet again, and he has not got just a landscape, he's got a landscape and a leopard. Well done, Tristan.
I do have a landscape and a landscape. Why am I saying a landscape? That's very odd. Landscape and a leopard. There we go. I'll get it out eventually. So we do have Ingrid Dam, or Xidulu female, in the tree now, and she's just taking it very easy. She had a momentary visit from the two hyenas that were wallowing in the pan. They came in, saw her up in the tree, and then just decided, well, that's it. They're not going to worry too much, and they're going to just kind of move off. They can see that there's nothing that they can get into, and there's no way that they can actually get to the carcass, and so they kind of sniffed around for a bit, and then off they went. Now, she's not being as obliging as she could be, because she's got her head facing the opposite way, so hopefully she'll kind of put her head back this side and watch what's going on. Like I said, the hyenas have kind of drifted off a little bit. They're not really too interested in what's happening at this stage, although you never know with hyenas, they're always lurking about, and that's exactly why those hyenas have been probably sitting here all day, is in the hope that she goes up to feed and drops a bit of this carcass. The thing is, though, is that those hyenas look a lot fuller than what she does, so I wonder if maybe she had a little fight with them and kind of lost some of it to the hyenas, and that's how she got to a situation where she ended up being able, well, having to kind of put half of it up in the tree, and why she's not as full as you would expect her to be with the carcass. Either way, though, she still looks in perfect condition, and the hyenas themselves have now backed off, and she's got it up in the tree, which makes it much easier for her to be able to actually feed and to get the nutrients she needs. But there's her paw just dangling down. Are you going to look? There we go. She's now looking outside, which is quite nice. Hello, girl. So she's watching all the cars. Unfortunately, we're on the main road that runs into the reserve, so we're just south of the entry gate, and it can be a bit chaotic at times. There's just sort of cars that go up and down all the time, particularly at this time of the day, as people that have been doing dropping off guests for the day kind of arrive and sort of start leaving the reserve before the game drives start, and then the game drives themselves start going, and it just becomes a little bit chaotic. So hopefully we're going to have a situation where everybody is going to start kind of getting in and out and stop moving around in this area, because otherwise it's going to be all too much. There's going to be a lot of noise around her, which is not ideal. So I'm hoping that she's going to decide just to take it very easy where she is, and the cars will all go, and then we'll have a situation where we can at least enjoy her. Noriko, you're wondering if leopards only have one layer of fur. So yes, they only have one layer of fur. They don't need more than that. You can imagine when it is 120 Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius, you don't exactly want 2 or 3 or 4 layers of fur on your body. You're going to have a situation where it's going to get far too hot and far too uncomfortable to have that much fur. So they only have the one layer. Oh, look at that. Something about a leopard when it's gazing and the kind of breeze is blowing in the background and the marula tree is just fluttering, and it's very, very cool to see. So she's watching the hyenas. That's what she's watching, moving off back towards their mud wallow. But yeah, if they had more fur than that, it would become very uncomfortable and very difficult to survive in the hot weather like this. So only the one layer that they've got. If you kind of shave that off, then it goes to the bare skin. There's not a secondary or third layer that's inside there that keeps them warm or comforted in any way. The good news is it looks like the rain might leave us alone, so we might have dodged a massive bullet and not gotten too much rain in this area. It seems as though it's all kind of sort of subsiding a little bit and blowing off more to our south than it is actually onto us. The prediction is that we're supposed to get quite a bit of rain over the course of the weekend. We theoretically are supposed to get at least 4 or 5 days of good rain. Whether or not that materializes, anyone's guess, but we need it for the area, even though it's the middle of summer and we should have had a lot more rain by now, and there is water in some of the dams. We need a lot more to be able to sustain this area for the winter months, and especially if we're going to have herds of buffalo like Ali saw in 700, they'll just mow this whole area. Kathy, you say you love their paws, especially the cubs' paws. Well, exactly. The cubs do have very cute paws, and particularly Tundi's little cubs. They're so big for its size of its body that they kind of look as though they're quite floppy. But when you see a leopard in a tree like this and you can see their paws just kind of dangling, it is always cool to see. It's just one of those, surreal moments, really, where there's this massive cat sitting in a tree and its paws dangling from the branches. It's always kind of one of those really cool things to see, and you can actually see the difference now quite clearly between the two sets of paws. So the front paws, big, bulky, heavy set like that's the front paw, and the other ones are those much more slender and narrow and longer paws. And if you were watching this morning, you saw that we showed you a track of where a leopard had sat down, and that's why it left that very elongated track, is because you can see her paw that then runs up towards sort of her ankle joint, and so that was the whole track that we saw, that long narrow section on the sand itself, which is not something that you see every day. So very cool to see, and obviously it's a nice study on the differences between the paws and why they need different paw sizes, and a sort of difference between the back and front is all to do with the way that they go about business. The back paws are there to help with jumping and to be able to help with chasing of animals, whereas the front paws are all the power to pin animals down, as well as to be able to climb trees and be able to get into trees effectively. So they're both designed for their own use, and it's important that they have these different size paws. Wild Alan, you wanting to know what the name of this tree is? Well, this tree is called a marula tree. So it is the tree that all the elephants are standing under at the moment because of the fact that it is fruiting. And so because it's producing fruit, it means that a lot of the elephants are coming towards it. Luckily for this female leopard, there's no fruit that I can see on this tree, which means the tree is not going to be shaken about by a big bull elephant while she's in it. And so she'll be able to kind of sleep quite peacefully. But look at that. Isn't that the most reclined she could be now. I apologize for the aerial. That's the hyena that's just come out behind us and is probably going to lie on the road. Yes, it is. It's going to lie in the cool sand and take it very easy. It's, like I say, the same hyenas that we had in the mud wallow, but if anybody was watching during the school drive, he'll know that there's a hyena at the moment that's got teats that are swollen, which means that there are babies somewhere. Where those babies are, I'm not quite sure, so we're going to have to just try and see if we can find them. But while we kind of watch the beautiful Xidulu gaze upon the eastern horizon, I'm going to send you back across to Ali and see what she's up to for the rest of the afternoon.
Well, we've been trying to find any lion tracks whatsoever. We just haven't been lucky yet. Seems like this road has also been utilized quite a lot this afternoon, as it seems that one of the lodges around the area is doing some renovations or something along those lines. So there's been a lot of trucks going up and down that we've seen, which is not ideal, because if the lions did cross, then it's going to make it a little bit harder for us to be able to spot their tracks. And if every now and again you see a blue line on top of your screen, it's not your computer. We're just trying to keep the camera dry with a contraption that Ferg has managed to do, which I'm very impressed about. So we'll see how that goes. But other than that, it's been very quiet on this front. So, but who never knows? Every time that we think that it's been very quiet, then there is a cat or an animal that pretty much gives me a fright. So I am hoping that the luck will continue and that we'll be able to spot at least one lion track. It'll be quite interesting if we did. And if not, my plan is to go back along the fire break, see if we can find more tracks there. Karen, you're wondering if I've seen Tamba. Well, I saw him briefly on Valentine's Day, funny enough, because he was in quarantine, which is not too far from where we stay. So he was around that area, which was wonderful to see, because I haven't seen Tamba in the longest time. And he's looking quite well, I must say. He's looking fine, but I don't think that there have been too many updates after that particular sighting we had of him. Hello. Okay. Sorry, just gotta be polite to people that drive past. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure if after Valentine's Day, if he actually crossed all the way back to Simambili EP area. I could be mistaken, but I think I recall Tristan saying something about it. So it could be a possibility. But I was definitely super happy to see him, because Tamba likes eluding me, and he likes going places or hiding from me where I can't find him. So seeing him was very special indeed. And he's looking good, he's looking big. And there's something... Whoop! Ferg is fighting with... But there's... he just looks like a jaguar to me. He's funny. His spots are so big. Not compared to some of the leopards around the area. Right, we're going to carry on with our lion mission. Hopefully we'll be rewarded by some tracks. But in the meantime, let's go back to Tristan and the spotted cat.
Well, our spotted cat is still resting easy, taking it as chilled as it possibly can and enjoying the view. I suppose when you can sit atop of the world like that and watch the hyenas down, it's almost like a king looking down on the common people and just kind of almost having that laughing face as to say, well, sorry, hyenas, you can't get up here. Now, the hyena that's here with us, I'm going to try and move the vehicle a little bit for Vian so he can actually show you while she's still relaxing there and while she's taking it easy, because the hyena that we've got here seems to have a little problem with its backside, which sounds really funny, but it does seem to have an issue. It's got what looks like a hemorrhoid that it's busy trying to sort out, so it's kind of licking around that area, which is a bit weird, but... So, Crystal, you're saying this is Saka that's in the road here. Now, Saka seems to have a bit of a problem. Like I say, he's got some sort of issue there. You can see he's grooming it a little bit. Now, a little squeamish if you... I don't know if it's a cut. Is it a cut? Has he been bitten? Yes, it looks like it. Or it's raw, whatever it is. The tail area as well. So... poor Saka seems to not be having a nice time of it in that area. So I apologize if that's a bit gruesome, but like I say, it is part of nature, and unfortunately he's obviously not feeling that comfortable about it. Maybe it's why his bottom has been in water a lot, because if you actually look, his coat is very wet. And this morning, I'm pretty sure this is the same hyena that I saw this morning walking in front. And he was also wet this morning, and so interesting to see that they use water to try and just kind of ease the irritation. Now it's going to come and sit here. I'm sure Xidulu is going to look around and just see what's going on. There we go. She's kind of having a little look about. Don't worry, girl. you're fine up there. And she's seen this all before. I wonder how many times she's had to deal with hyenas like this and see them kind of from the top of a tree. I'm sure it's many, many times that she's had to watch what's going on. Now, the hyena will probably just sit around here and just try and kind of figure out if there's any bits that have maybe dropped during the course of the day. But from where that carcass is and the way it's positioned, Xidulu has not fed on this carcass at all today. She has not moved it. When Senzo and I were here this morning, that is exactly the same position, the same way that the legs were dangling, and had she fed on it, it would have moved a little bit from where it was. So she hasn't fed at all, and I'm sure she'll only feed a little bit later in the day. But you can see there's a bit of it, and it does look old. It's kind of got a black coloration to it, which is generally a sign of age, and then generally not a very fresh carcass. Although the hyena's found something. Kristen, you're wondering if mating was successful, when would she start showing? So she would start showing probably around now, given that she mated... Oh, no, maybe not, maybe a little early now. So she'll start normally showing, depending on the size of the litter as well. You know, with Tundi, she showed quite late because she only had the one. But if they have 3 of them, then they start to show a little bit earlier. But we normally start to see signs of it at around a month and a half to 2 months. That's when you start to notice that the belly's starting to drop a little bit, and not in the way when they full. When they full, the belly drops in a certain kind of way. It's a round, uniform shape, but when they've got cubs, it kind of almost gets like a little ridge in it, and it drops much lower down towards the back legs than it would if it was a situation where she was just full. So that's how you can normally tell when they are pregnant. They also get a lot more kind of, the teats get swollen, and they start to obviously produce milk the closer they get, and you can then really tell what's going on. So I'm hoping she is pregnant. It would be really nice if she is. Obviously, if she is pregnant, it would have been fathered by Hukamuri. As far as we know, we don't know if she's mated with Anderson. It's possible, but given her behavior and the way that she's kind of come into this area, and she's pushing further and further to the northeast and into Djuma, it's a sign that maybe Hukamuri is the one that she's mated with the most, because of her fact that she's moving around almost with him in a way to try and ensure that if she does give birth, she's in the same place as him and is successful. But look at how she's just watching what's going on. We heard impalas shouting there a little bit earlier, so there was 1 or 2 little snorts. It sounded more like rutting than anything else, but maybe she can see impalas. Look at how she's intrigued in something. See how she's popped her neck out and she's really studying what's going on. I don't know if it's maybe the hyena that's walking off into the distance. Is it the hyena that's walked off there? Might be the hyena that's walked off, because it seems as though she's kind of studying exactly that and just watching what's going on. But there we go, paw up and head on it, and she's got beautiful colored eyes. You can see she's got that kind of light bluish green color, which a lot of the leopards from this southeastern section of sort of the northern area, so they're up against the Londolozi Singita boundary, a lot of them have this similar trait of bluish colored eyes. Right, now I'm going to sit the whole afternoon probably and enjoy this, and while we do that, let's send you back across to James, who apparently has got the bold and the beautiful. That's probably reference to what he was talking about in terms of Amber, but let's go across to Amber himself and see what he's up to.
I don't think that that's necessary to ever mention again. I was sharing something of my childhood, and it was an opening up, an honesty between us that I hope will not be pinned to me as a mark of shame. Something else that I think is slightly shameful, well, not shameful but sad, is that we've called a leopard termite mound. There are lots of leopards in the Sabi sand called termite mound, and I think that we could have been more original. I know that none of you had anything to do with it. I actually think the nicest names we have in the Sabi sands are Hosana and Tamba, one of which you chose. And so I think termite mound, a very unattractive name. Tamba means the rock. Hosana means the little chief, which is exactly what he is. And Xidulu means termite mound. This just doesn't work for me. We've had to, unfortunately, head back up the hill. I feel it's a little bit early, but unfortunately that is what has to happen out here. As Kirsten says, not Barbara is a good one. Yes, not Barbara is a good one. It's an excellent name for a leopard. That isn't a leopard's name, by the way. Shadow's cub's name is not Barbara, nor is it Barbara. So we just call her not Barbara. It is amazing how every time I mention that, there's a vociferous group on the Twitter or on some kind of social media platform and says, oh, you shouldn't be saying things like that. You'll cause tremendous offence by calling a leopard by a name that's not really there. Well, you know, sometimes you've got to break a few eggs to make an omelette. That is an appalling analogy in this situation, but it's the only thing that came to me. Let us have a look at this fine specimen of giraffe over here, whose name is... Sorry, I have to stall the car. Unfortunately, it won't turn off of its own volition anymore. Its name, this giraffe's name, of course, is Sydney, I think. Hello, Sydney. You see, he's got two little white socks on his front feet. Now, we get endless questions about things like albinism and melanism and different colours, and I suppose that would be some kind of sort of partial leucism. So a little bit like some pigeons have got white patches on them. So this giraffe has got little white socks. Isn't that cool? I've only ever seen horses with those sorts of markings before. I've never seen that on a giraffe. He's got 4 little white socks. I suppose they're all slightly lighter down by the hoofs there. But this one is particularly socked. Sydney White Socks. Thank you, Kirsten. Yes, indeed, Sydney White Socks. We must continue on our way up the hill. This, of course, is the Maasai giraffe. Very nice. Right, apparently Kirsten's sick and tired of driving with me up the hill here, so let's go back across to Tristina, who has never ever watched a soap opera in his life, but for the soap opera that is playing out with the leopards as we speak.
Well, James, it's just true. There is a major soap opera that's playing out at the moment, and it's a highly entertaining one, probably far more entertaining than The Bold and the Beautiful. Well, I'm not sure, actually. Maybe James loves The Bold and the Beautiful. I wouldn't be surprised. And it also seems as though James is on a naming spree today. I'm being called Tristina, and there's many animals of the Masai Mara that are just being named willy-nilly, and it really is, I'm sure, going to be quite confusing for those animals when they go back home tonight and just tell their friends I've just been named something completely different to what they call them. So, James, I don't know, did you check with all these animals, since this morning you were chatting about talking to animals and all these things? So hopefully you checked with all of them that they like their new names and that they're not just offended by the fact that you're calling them Sydney and Amber and various others that you've done today. Although I did enjoy the James giraffe, which is probably my favorite one, the short giraffe of the Masai Mara named James. I thought that was quite delightful, and I did have a chuckle at that today. Now, our leopard is going to sit tight. I'm sure it's not going to move too much for too much longer. It's probably in a situation where it's going to just kind of rest the whole evening up here. I was hoping that maybe her climbing up and making a bit of noise might have attracted the attention of Hukumuri, who's not, too far away. He's, at the end of the day, is on One-Eyed Pan Road, which is just to our southwest at the moment, and so I have a situation with maybe that I thought if she scaled, even though he's got a kill, sometimes male leopards can be a bit funny. They'll even leave their kill in a tree and then come and investigate what other leopards are around. And I thought maybe, just maybe, he might arrive. So you never know. Maybe he does. Also, all these buffalo that are not too far from us, you never know. Maybe they start coming over the road and the Nkuhuma Pride is following. So it's a good place to be. We're in a great sort of area for things to happen. And hopefully, like I say, we will get to see something. The rain seems to be coming back again, though. It's starting to get very dark and very dingy quite quickly, and it's going to be surely at an early sunset, so it's going to be a rather long period of darkness that we're going to be in tonight, because remember that we have extended out a little bit towards 7 o'clock, so it's going to be a little darker tonight when we finish up, but it's okay. It'll be interesting nonetheless. Right. Now, it is that time, though, that we are going to say goodbye to various platforms that have joined us this afternoon. I hope that you've had a wonderful time with us, and we hope to see you again shortly. If you are enjoying this far and you want to carry on watching what's going on with our female leopard, remember that you can just Google Safari Live and you'll be able to carry on watching, because we are still out, as I mentioned, until 7 o'clock this evening. So there could be lots of interesting things. Ali's out and about looking for all kinds of things, and like I say, there's potential with the lions and with the buffalo that are around, and maybe they make an appearance. So hopefully we'll see you again, but it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll leave you with one last view of the beautiful leopard in the tree. Right, so that's our various platforms off, and so we're back to just the standard show, which means that all of you, I hope, are going to ask a lot of questions and keep us busy, because Ali and I have got a stretch now to go, just the two of us. And while we gaze upon Xidulu and hope that she turns our way and the rain starts to fall harder, I'm going to send you across to Ali and see what she's up to. And like I say, hopefully she's going to get a bit of luck. She seems to have been lucky the whole week, so I'm sure something will come her way.
Well, indeed, we've got a herd of elephants that's just coming our way, and they've been crossing for quite a while, and I think it's probably the one that actually had that encounter with the lions this morning, just because a little bit earlier on we could see that tiny little one that we saw this morning. So judging by where we are, it wouldn't surprise me that it's them, because with that little one, they cannot go that far. So unfortunately, they've all been moving further and further into Buffelshoek. I can see a trend with the animals today, but they're still allowing us to have a nice view of them, even as the rain is steadily coming down. It's a bit of a soft rain, but we are thoroughly getting wet, which is exactly what the environment that we're in really needs. It's a soft rain to get everything soaked, but not wash away any seeds of the grass and everything else. And you can see the elephants are not bothered. This is probably the coolest they've been in days, because it's been so hot the last few days that I think the rain is a welcome relief. Now, you seem to be up to something there. Are you? Oh, you're eating. Or maybe you were fighting something off, trying to get something from the bottom. There we go. You see he's using his front foot just to try and get everything else out of the ground. And it's quite an interesting perspective, because before the mother arrived and put everything back into size proportion, it almost seemed like this was a much older elephant. Oop, there we go. Getting scared, tail up, running after mom. I think they're going to come back into a bit of a more open area. There we go. And off it goes. Shame, so sweet. All of them heading further and further in. There is a bit of a thicket just, well, obviously where they're headed to, and I think they might just try and stay there a little bit just to pass this rain, because it is, as we said, starting to come down a little bit more consistently. Fortunately, no luck with the lion tracks, but we're going to carry on. At least we saw some elephants, and it's always wonderful to spend time with them. So we are going to slowly start heading back, just in case maybe the lions have taken a chance and just decided to start moving now, as I'm sure the rain would also wake them up. Now, let me get out of this position, and then off we go. All right, Tristan, it seems, is under a lot more rain than which worries me a little bit, but let's go on the back of his car and see if he's actually doing a Ferrari safari.
Well, we're going to Ferrari safari our way back quickly to get a roof so that we can get VM nice and dry and make sure that we can carry on filming Xidulu as she sits in the tree, because otherwise we're going to have a situation where we're not going to be able to see very much, and we're not going to be able to even use our IR lights because of the kind of way things are. I see the buffalo are starting to come now as well, so if we do this quick enough, we might get buffalo with the female leopard, and that might be really quite something. So I'm going to try and just quickly race that side and see if we can get back towards where there is some sort of roof structure, and hopefully there will be some people willing and able to help us put them on, because they're not an easy thing to put on. I also do apologize about any rain spots you're getting on the lens. Because I'm driving quite quickly, we're going to accumulate quite a bit of rain, so hopefully that's not causing too much of an issue. Now, I don't know where this rain has come from. It's all of a sudden closed in, and so while I quickly get back to the camp and send you back to Ali, and hopefully we'll see you shortly with a nice big roof and not a bull elephant.
Yeah, I Also, I don't know where this rain came from. It was quite unexpected because up to like 10 minutes ago, we at least had some rains of sunshine. But it seems like they're all done now. We are a little bit far away from camp, but we're also going to steadily make our way there. I think where we are, the rain is still not coming down as hard as where Tristan was, but it's still on our way towards where we want to check one last time for those lions. So perhaps a little bit later on. But we do carry important equipment, so we don't want to get it wet. Matt, you're wondering if there's such a thing as too many elephants in an area, where there definitely is. So, and I'll explain this a little bit further. It's not that we don't want to have a lot of elephants in a particular area, but every certain area there are studies that are done just to determine the carrying capacity of a particular area. Now, the carrying capacity means that a particular area that is very likely, even if very, very big, is fenced up, so where the animals cannot move freely during the seasons or cannot migrate from one area to the next. That particular area needs time to recover from the impact of elephants, but of other animals as well. It's not only, just specified for elephants. So you've got to be careful of how many creatures of the same species you have, because they're going to target the same thing. So the elephants are going to knock down certain species of trees more than other. They're going to eat more of certain grass species in certain areas, and so on and so on. And if they do eat them all, what will happen in the extreme would be that actually they eat all their food, drink all their water, and then it becomes detrimental to them and they start dying off, because there aren't as many resources for them as there would be if they would be able to move around. So yes, there is such a thing as too many animals of a certain species in that area, and it's one of the main things, or the things that you've got to look after the most if you're doing any sort of reserve or game ranch management. You just got to be very careful and obviously do all the studies and have all the correct information as to how many animals of a species you can have in that area. Now, the Kruger National Park, for example, it's estimated that there's a population of about maybe 20,000 elephants. And I think that it's an overpopulation of elephants of about 5,000 of them. Now, even the Kruger, that is such a big area, also has a limit as to how many elephants there can be. But the numbers are constantly changing. I mean, science is also not always providing us with the right answer, because things are constantly changing. So we've got to adapt as we go forward to make sure that we keep on top of, or on track with all of these studies. I think I'm getting very wet now. Anyway, so yes, too many elephants is a thing, and then that's why sometimes, or some parks like the Kruger did in the past, have introduced pretty radical measures like culling, where they will go and pretty much take out in the most humane way possible to the extra or the surplus of animals of a certain species in a particular area. Now, the Kruger used to do this about in the 80s, and there was quite an international outcry about, why are you doing this? You were trying to protect animals, and now you're just killing them off instead of selling them to different areas, or so on and so on. So it's a very big debate as to what to do and how many is too many. There's also different scientists can have different opinions. So it's a very long and interesting subject, and there have been plenty of studies that have been done on the matter just to try and figure out how many there can be in a particular area. Now, in my heart, there can never be too many elephants. I love seeing elephants all over the place, except when you want to go tracking, and then, well, it's not really that safe to go walking where there's a mother elephant with their babies. That they're not too happy about that kind of stuff. They really prefer us humans to stay away. Okay then, seems like for once the Weather Channel was right. Definitely coming down with rain today. Who knew that they could be right? No, I normally have very, very little faith in the Weather Channel, because they tend to be wrong. But like I said, who knew that today they're going to be right? Although I do see far off in the distance some rays of sunshine. I don't think we're going to have too much of a sunset this evening, though. I think it's going to be pretty much this darkness, and I don't know where it came from. But oh well, I am hoping that we're gonna get some really, really nice thunder and lightning this evening. Those are some of my favorite things, those proper African thunderstorm where everything just rattles and the power goes off, and it's just like, it makes you feel like you're powerless, that you cannot really control all that much what happens around you, so you've just pretty much got to take it as it comes. But quite interesting, I think that these rains are also going to bring a lot of water with them, or not this rain, these clouds, because Tristan was actually mentioning that earlier today there were some flash floods at Skukuza, which is the southern part of the Kruger National Park, normally around the Sabi and the Sand River, which are coincidentally the two rivers that give this reserve, the Sabi Sand, its name. So it'll be interesting to see if we're going to get a lot of rain. I know everybody keeps saying, there's been such an ongoing debate, and it's almost been a soap opera with the drama of the rainy season in South Africa. We're going to get too much rain, and then too many people are like, no, we're not going to get enough rain, and then it doesn't rain for a month, and then it's panic, and then, no, but we are getting rain, and then it's more panic again, and it's just becomes a very interesting subject, I must say. And well, of course, if you haven't heard the news, we are worried about the city of Cape Town, which might be the first modern city to ever run out of water, as it seems like the reservoirs are quite steadily emptying out. So hopefully, we'll get some rains and some divine help, and then we'll be able to prepare ourselves or plan better for the future, or at least become more conscious of our water use wherever we might go. All right. Definitely no lions around here. I wonder if maybe they're still, or now if they're tucked underneath a bush, because they're also not the type of creatures that like being out here too much. Whew. Whew. Dale, you're wondering what's the funniest question that I've ever had a guest ask me. Well, I think one of the funniest questions was how we were looking at a black rhino, very, very relaxed black rhino right next to us, super chilled, just enjoying everything. And here I go on about black rhinos, super rare, amazing sighting, getting all super excited about it. And then eventually there was this lady that clearly hadn't been paying any attention to anything that I was saying, just turns around, taps me on the shoulder, and she's just like, Ali, why does that hippo have horns? And I was just like, well, because it's not a hippo. My tracker nearly fell off laughing from his chair. He was like, no, there's no ways that this just happened. So I think it was just, I don't really know what she was thinking, because we weren't even close to a river. So I don't know why she thought that was the case. But I think every now and again those are some of the funniest questions, and then I don't know, I think that's the most memorable one that I can recall. That was definitely one of my favorite ones. I was very puzzled as to how her mind flew off when we stopped and sat with this rhino for quite a while before she decided that, it's not a rhino, it's a hippo. So that was quite funny. All right, Rain, just hold off. Going home to put a roof, we'll be able to survive. Although, I wish you guys could see Ferg. He's got a little umbrella and everything is safe under the umbrella. Ferg and the camera are both okay, which is all that really matters at this point.
You matter too, Elliot.
I matter too, thanks, but I think the umbrella can cover both of us. That's very exciting, though. I have always wanted a see-through umbrella. I don't know why. I always thought the thought of going underneath the rain with the see-through umbrella and being able to look up and just seeing the drops would be the coolest thing ever. So when I lived in the UK, that was a perfect time to actually get an umbrella, which I never did. I had a very colorful one that kept breaking because the wind kept, putting it up the other way, inside out. And then today I finally got to use my see-through umbrella that I had left all across the world, and I got it, and it was about 2 drops that I had on me, but I felt like the umbrella was doing its purpose. But I think I should have probably brought it on drive today. Then we could have been the umbrella team, Ferg. We could have both gone with our umbrellas. I reckon we would have been quite a sight for animals and humans alike. That would have, I don't know how elephants would have thought of us, though. Maybe we would have looked like a giant little mushroom driving around. Perhaps I should put some polka dots on my umbrella, make it more interesting. We can be a ladybug or something like that. Oh my goodness. Hello, lovely Rain. Seems like the drops are also getting bigger now. Whew. Very, very big drops of rain. Even the tire in front is starting to create puddles. Alright, I think we are off of the storm now. Not as bad as it can be.
Well, unfortunately, I think Ali's getting pounded by the rain. We've managed to get a roof on somehow in quick time. I feel like we did it quite quickly. I don't know. Time will tell if it was quick enough. But poor Ali must be getting absolutely hammered by the rain at the moment. And so we'll just be with us for a while as she probably heads her way home. It's okay though. Hopefully you guys don't mind sticking with us for some time. Now I'm trying to hold on to one side of the car because, well, our system here doesn't really work that well without the door. So we're trying to hold on to one side of the car, keep everything dry. We're going to head back to Xidulu and just sit tight there, where this will basically act like a major big tent. That's the idea anyway. Whether or not it's going to work is anyone's guess, but it'll be fun anyway. It's an adventure, and hopefully the rain kind of doesn't come down too hard. I don't mind if it rains through the course of this evening, but it would be nice if it slowed down a little bit now so that we could actually figure a way to kind of finish up our drive with some semblance of order and not in absolute mass chaos like it currently is. Although I suppose it's not really chaotic, is it? We're all very, very relaxed at this stage, and Vildi and I are quite cozy. Well, certainly Viam is. I feel like I'm going to have a rather damp nether region, which will be a bit weird, but anyway, that's the way it goes. It's not the first time that it's happened, and certainly won't be the last time that I get completely covered in rain. In fact, last year, or was it last year or the year before? Year before, I think, I got absolutely punished in a rainstorm that came out of nowhere. So we went on our afternoon game drive and we were just trundling along. Everything was quite glorious, and we came across the Solala Pride, and we were following the Solala Pride through the bushes, and all of a sudden there was this crack of thunder and this bolt of lightning, and the storm was on us, and it came down so hard that we were following the lions, and the lions were, I would say, maybe 2 to 3 meters in front of me, maybe a little bit more. Let's call it 5 meters. And I could not see a lion for the life of me, and we were in the thickest, most densest area possible, and so it became an absolute nightmare. One, to try and dodge the lions to get out, and two, to actually get out of that thicket and get into a place where we could get everyone into ponchos and cover the vehicle up so that we didn't get damage to the radios. It was an absolute nightmare, and what it turned out to be was that we got close to 60 millimeters in the space of 15 minutes. So 60 millimeters, I don't even know how many inches that is, but I can tell you it's a lot. The whole footwell of my car was water. My ankles were was ankle deep in water in the footwell of the car, which gives you an idea of just how much water kind of came in to that area. Now, I know there was a bull elephant somewhere here on my way back that I'm trying to see. I can't really see much out of the side, so I'm sure he's somewhere in this area. I think I just drove past him. I can't really see for sure, but anyway. Now, Kurs, sorry, you're coming through incredibly soft, so I'm going to just try and adjust my earpiece quickly. Just give me 2 seconds. Hopefully we haven't got water in it, but I think what's happened is it's come out of its little kind of thing. Yes, it has. I can feel it already. So Kurs, just hold on 2 seconds. This is what happens when it rains like this, is that sometimes in the hustle and bustle of putting things on, this little section comes out of this little section, and that means that I can't hear anything, and you will all be able to hear Kirsty because it just comes out of this little hole. And so I've got to turn it back in and lock it down tight. Alright, Kirst, hit me with some words. Let's see what you got. Apparently you got a question for me, so hit me with a question. There we go. So, First Lady, you're wondering how animals cope with rain. Well, to them it's just all part of the experience. They are out here and doing their thing, and so they just sit and kind of have to get wet, unfortunately. You'll find the cats will try and kind of get into some sort of shelter, so they go under a tree or a bush. They're not really too interested in walking around unless there's a hunting opportunity. Then you'll find the cats will be a little bit more kind of prone to moving around. So these buffalo will have a tough time tonight if the Nkumas are anywhere near. Ooh, let's be careful there. And then you'll find that the other animals, well, they just go about business as usual. They just carry on feeding and doing their thing. In fact, you'll find things like elephants and buffalo will actually spend a vast majority of their time coming right out into the open and feeding quite a bit. The other animals like the impalas and duikers and steenbok and nyalas, they all head to open areas because it generally, when it rains, is quite dark and dingy. It's difficult for them to see, and so they rather get into a place where they've got less predators to worry about, and so that's why they'll head in those areas. Alrighty then. There's a really seriously big bull elephant somewhere here that's in major must. We came past just now and the smell was almost gag reflex that happened, so I wonder where he is. I don't want to get blindsided by a muskbull elephant, that's for sure. Hopefully he's going to behave himself and stay either off the road or be in the road so I can actually see him, because otherwise we might have a rather grumpy elephant coming towards us, which I don't really feel like dealing with when I can't see, because I can't reverse, I can't actually do much when we've got the roof on. It's a little bit more difficult to kind of negotiate our terrain. The nice thing is also is that Xidulu has parked herself right on the road, so I don't even have to off-road with the roof. I suppose that's a plus for this afternoon. Also seems like the rain is stopping. Of course it will be. This is what happens when you rush and get a roof, is the rain will stop immediately after you've done all of this. And so let's just hope that we have a situation where, well, I don't know, everything calms down and we can lift the sides of the roof. It'll be much easier to negotiate what's going on. Like I said, I thought I saw the buffalo coming this way as well, so I'm just trying to kind of look out of my side here. It's a bit difficult to see because the flap is right next to me and I'm actually holding the flap. If I move my arm, you can see the flap goes with me, so we're not going to do that. We're going to keep that down, otherwise VM's going to get quite wet. VM, I think our bull elephant went towards Xidulu, female. Looks like he cut off that way. Do you think he goes and chases, well, shakes the marula? What do you think, bud? No.
He doesn't think she is.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't think she's a marula and pluck her out the tree. That will be a bit awkward to explain that one. I don't even think she's in the tree anymore. It looks like she's gone. But there's the buffalo. They slowly now crossing over, and that's going to be glorious because the buffalo are heading straight to Xidulu's tree. So we're going to have a situation with a big herd of buffalo, Xidulu leopard in the tree. There's a tracks for a male elephant going in this direction as well. So we should have a wonderful scenario of buffalo, leopard and elephant. Very nice. I wonder if the lions will make an appearance. We can do 4 of the big 5 in one sighting. That'll be quite nice. Alright, VM, let's try and get through all of the buffalo and get to the leopard and then sit with the leopard. And hopefully buffalo, leopard and everybody else will all be together. Now you might be wondering why I'm going this way. Well, it's much quicker and easier to get through this side. Julie, wondering if pregnant leopards get lethargic like humans do. So Julie, no, not really. A leopard has still got that, that desire to survive and to be able to try and produce offspring, and it knows that to do that it's got to try and get as much food as possible. And so when it kind of goes for food, it's got to have some sort of, ability to move around and some sort of desire to move. Otherwise it's going to have a really torrid time and it's not going to be able to get enough food for its offspring, and therefore it's going to have a situation where the offspring are not going to survive. So they'll try and do their very best to try and get food and to try and support their pregnancy, and they won't be too lethargic like our humans are. Alright, so we're almost through and we're almost towards where Xidulu is. The buffalo are all on my right hand side, so they're slowly but surely moving in this direction. We've kind of come out in front of them. The rest of the herd should slowly probably appear when we're sitting with her. The rain, as you can hear, is also starting to really come down. There's a big stump, so we're not going to be able to go that way. A little bit difficult to negotiate this. I tell you what, without a roof you feel a bit blindsided. With the roof, sorry, it feels as though you can't really see what's going on. So I have to do a little peeping access there. There we go. Here comes the buffalo. Right, so we should get buffalo and leopard all in one here. That's the idea anyway. Whether or not it's going to work is anyone's guess. Leopard is out the tree though, so Xidulu is no longer in the tree. I don't know where she's gone. Oh, she's feeding on the carcass. Oh, that's not ideal. I'm going to have to reverse quite far back for VM because the roof, unfortunately, is going to be a situation where I don't know if VM's actually going to be able to see anything. So let's go back and see. Hopefully I'm not going to reverse into anything because I can't actually see anything. Hi guys, so just, can I go? Go, 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 go. There we go. Right, so, more. So sorry Chris, the rain is so hard I can't hear you, and so I'm trying to reverse more. That's good. Okay, so VM says that's good. So Penny Pine, you say we'll need hot chicken soup when we return home? Well, I think so. I think we'll have a situation where we're going to need a bit of hot chocolate and something warm just to get everything going. You can hear I'm actually trying to shout because of how much it's raining. It's really coming down, and so at least now that we're static, it's actually not too bad. The whole of the car is staying quite dry, which is good news. We've got everything sorted. You can see the rain falling in front of Xidulu. She's busy feeding. The buffalo should shortly start making an appearance. They're going to come out onto the road underneath her, and so we're in a prime position. I think actually, Kirst, you should tell Ali just to stay put at camp. No point in coming out. I'm quite happy to carry on by myself in the rain because, well, if there's not a sighting, she's just going to get the whole car wet for no reason whatsoever. So I'm quite happy just to stay by myself out in the rain. We've got at least something to look at, and while the rain is falling as hard as it is, it doesn't really make sense for somebody to be driving around, that's for sure. But Xidulu, I'm surprised that she's feeding now in the sort of heaving rain. I would have thought there would have been a situation where she was going to try and rather kind of feed when it was dry and get up there and kind of eat, and then only go and find shelter when it rains. But she's decided it's time for a good feed now, and I suppose she's underneath as much cover as she possibly can be, and so it's going to be perfect for her to have a good sort of feed and rest. But there you go, she's just looking at us, a bit of a shake, getting all the water off, making sure that she's nice and clean. Well done, girl. There's not much meat left there though. I think she'll be finished by the morning though. She might still be around tomorrow morning, but I don't think she'll have too much left of it. And now here come the buffaloes. So they're slowly but surely coming out now. They're going to hopefully be visible. Can you see them there, Viam? I'll move my flap a little bit for you. There we go. There's the flap being moved. So there come the buffalo in the pouring rain. You can see the gate just in the distance there. So that's the gate in the background. That's the entrance to the Sabi Sand. So it's all taking place very, very close to that area. And the reason why it does that is because why the animals come past this gate system is because this is the thoroughfare for the Manyeleti and the Sabi Sand. So that's the crossing point for a lot of these animals, and that's how they get round from the Manyeleti to here. And so it kind of is almost like a choke-off system. Sorry, VM, trying to hold this cover away from you so that you can see all these buffalo coming through. But they will all come out onto the road and into the front, and it will be quite nice. They'll be under the tree with her, and the rain hopefully will subside a little bit as well, because it really is pounding down at the moment. It sounds like it's lessening somewhat, so hopefully we'll have a situation where it kind of eases off and it becomes a lot better to deal with. Now, I just had the most awkward experience because the rain cover is obviously got water dripping off it, and I wasn't paying attention, and I just moved it onto my shoe, and all the water just went dribbling down the sides of my shoe and onto my sock. So now I have a wet sock, which is a little bit weird, but anyway, it'll be okay. I'll survive. A bit of water didn't hurt anybody. I'm not an effervescent tablet. I certainly won't dissolve in the water, that's for sure. But very cool that we can at least sit here in the rain and watch all of this unfold. It's, you know, one thing to have a leopard in a tree, but in the pouring rain and now the buffalo coming is just pretty special, if you ask me. I think it's very cool to see. So there they all come down the road. Kirst, I've lost you again. I don't know what's going on with my earpiece. It's causing havoc this afternoon. So I believe a lot of you are saying that you're enjoying seeing the rain. Well, I'm sure you are. It's very welcome, that's for sure. And if we're going to get rain like this over the next 5 days, that certainly will fill things up and make things a lot better, and certainly will make a lot of these animals a lot happier, as well as even us, because as we know, it really is quite horrifically dry at the moment, and it's going to be a horrible situation to kind of deal with if it continued like this. If we had carried on with weather like this, we would have had rather poor grasses and water for the winter time, which would have meant a lot of the animals would have really suffered to be able to feed and actually get what they need to survive. So I'm glad that the animals are at least getting some semblance of water, and are at least getting hopefully some growth of grass and various other things that they need in order to survive. But how cool is this just to have the buffalo with the leopard? Like I say, we don't really actually even have to move. We have a situation where everything is kind of just happening right in front of us, which is quite nice. I wonder if she's going to respond to the buffalo. She doesn't really seem too perturbed by it. She's kind of just sitting watching them come along, and she's not really too stressed by the fact that there's a whole massive herd of buffalo that's approaching where she's got a kill. She's kind of just sitting here and taking it very easy at the moment and just enjoying the fact that she's got a nice meal, that's for sure. So if I was her, I suppose I'd be very much the same. I'd also be just sitting enjoying my meal, and the rain. There's not really much else you can do at the end of the day. You just got to kind of enjoy that you have something at least to keep you kind of warm and a bit of shelter when it comes to the tree itself. Now I wonder if my earpiece is playing up again. It seems to be. Sorry, Kirst, I know that you're trying to get hold of me, but this earpiece is driving me absolutely batty this afternoon. Okay, Kirst, let's try again. I'm going to try not move too much, because it seems as though every time I move, this is what happens. Tony, wondering if a leopard can catch a common cold. So no, not really. People are unfortunately more susceptible to these things because we have been taking medication for quite some time, and that's led to a situation where we've weakened our immune system somewhat. If leopards could catch common colds, it would be a very difficult thing for them to survive. They're out in the elements all the time. There's no one that's going to help them get better, and so it makes life really quite difficult for them. So no, they will try and avoid. Their immune system will be able to deal with the common cold, and they'll be able to survive just fine. What they do suffer from, though, is TB. They can get TB, which obviously affects their respiratory system. So that's something that they do get. It's generally only when they're much older individuals and they're suffering from a few other things does that become a bit of a problem. But this female is in prime health. She's in the prime of her life as well. She's now just approaching 4 years old, and so she's got only lots of years ahead of her, hopefully, if she doesn't get obviously caught by any predators or anything like that. But she's still got a long time to go, and she'll be as healthy as possible. Right, so apparently Ali didn't heed my advice and stay back at camp. She decided she wanted to brave the weather, and well, I'm not sure that's the brightest idea, but anyway, we'll send you across to her and see what she thinks about this deluge that is coming down.
Tristan, I'm being the gentleman in relationship, getting wet so that we can be a team. Oh, how dare you? I'm a strong, powerful, independent woman. I can get wet. Now, what I really wish I was doing in all seriousness is just being like that tiny little tortoise that's just in front of us. It's a tiny little Specs hinchback tortoise. Hello? Just carrying his house around. So when it gets a little bit too bad, all it has to do is tuck back itself in and then just hide. I think you're probably loving this weather. Now you can move far away, not get bothered by anything. Brave little thing. But I think even the tortoises are looking for shelter, which is not a great indication of the weather to come. And I'm just gonna stay quiet for about 10 seconds so you can hear the rain all around us, because it is starting to become very, very loud. Ooh. My goodness, that was lightning. That is not that ideal. Don't really like having all these antennae and all these things going around when there's a lot of lightning, so we'll keep that monitored and see what's actually really going on, because I don't really want to be struck by lightning today. Maybe another day, not today. Bye, little tortoise. So sweet. Right. Stuff is starting to fall from everywhere. So I wonder if we're going to have to actually put this down, Bird. I think we might. Thank you, everyone, for all the support about the human speech. The woman's speech. I can do everything that Tristan can do. If not, watch me try. No, I think... we lost... I thought there was a snake coming and attacking me, but it's actually one of the cords that we really need, so I don't really want to try and lose it. So, give me just 1 second to fetch it. Ooh. Guys, I think the rain has become a little bit too much, and we are all worried about the very expensive equipment that we have on the vehicle with us, as well as the amount of lightning that we can see out of the corner of our eyes. And because we are in fairly open ground with all the antennas and everything else around, we don't want to put ourselves in danger anymore. So unfortunately, I think we're going to have to call the dry off for the rest of the day. But thank you so much for sticking it for us, and then we'll see you all tomorrow morning bright and early for the next safari.